Okay, everybody, we're back for another poem. Um, this one has a longer title. It's called When the Advocate Becomes the Predator, ... Then the Sky Brigade rolls in. I guess I kind of meant that to be a warning and a clue and a storyline all at once. I was just sitting around thinking of people who claim to be advocates, who claim to want to help others or to help marginalized groups of people, and then turn around and turns out to be hurting that group instead. One example I can think of was I believe, DA in New York called Eric Schneiderman, who created a lot of pro-women's organizations, and then it came out maybe 2 years ago that he had been abusing women, that he had been hitting them. And it was a big shock because he had created all these pro-women organizations, right, and advocated for women's safety. And it turns out that part of the reason why he did that was to cover up his own behavior, most likely. You think of people who, unfortunately, abusers or molesters who might start a children's charity or something like that, and use it to abuse children, or, talk about politicians who may, advocate for, fiscal responsibility or giving to charity, and it turns out they just steal money from all their charities, right? There are sometimes people who who put on a show of goodwill and turns out to be secret predators. There are sometimes people who go into business, I think, with good intentions and then become caught up in corruption and abuse, or sometimes those issues are just revealed in yourself. You don't become that, but you just always were that sort of a crappy person inside. And I never want anyone to think that about me, that I'm being disingenuous, is that a word, or that I'm trying to cover up or hide anything. I try to be as honest as I can, and I want to encourage other people to be honest too, because by hiding things and by isolating ourselves, it creates a higher tendency sometimes to not seek help when we need it. If you feel you're going out and you're manipulating people, or you're abusing people, or you're crossing the line, you're likely going to be tempted to hide your behavior rather than seek help and say, something's wrong with me, I need to stop my own behavior. And that's really tough. The resources I have in the box below are for anybody, whether you've been victimized yourself or you have victimized somebody else. You should always reach out and do self-inventory on yourself to figure out if that's something you need to fix. And in the meantime, while they're working on them, while we work on ourselves, people who are survivors will work on themselves too. And we have to band together as well and create our own strength and our own, find a new source of energy within inside ourselves after surviving a traumatic event. Many people have to do that. So this poem, it's from the perspective of somebody who is a survivor, somebody who survived a traumatic experience with somebody like that, with a celebrity who seemed kind and turned out to be a jerk, or a Schneiderman, or like a Weinstein, Harvey Weinstein type. It was a little inspired by harassment that I've been through, sort of like at the workplace or on the job. So this comes from a lot of different places. So sorry for my rambling. We're 4 minutes in, so let's just start the poem. Okay. When the advocate becomes the predator. That's what this is called. I run to him, crying, throw my arms around his neck, sob into his shoulder for several precious seconds. My hero, the advocate. He has changed so many lives, and now I finally get to meet him. He lays eyes on me and sizes me up. Not all my heroes smile back. I wait for his assessment. It doesn't come in words. Sometimes I am a fangirl. I admire from afar until I spot the chance to make my presence known. An opportunist I am. The advocate is surrounded by fawning beasts, but I want his glowing attention all to myself. He has changed politics. He has changed policy. He has changed me. He is my teacher. He is a writer. He is a brilliant mind and everything you could know or ask a man for. I know him, I love him, I trust him in kind, and we have never once even met. I step out from my hiding place and mean to shake his hand. It becomes a hug as I am overcome with emotion. I push through the followers in his path, and then he has seen me back. He clocks my eye, and for a second I know I am alive. The advocate, the purveyor of women's rights, the great male feminist, the genius of our time. The cameras flash around us, and I know he notices something behind my glassy eyes. A connection of sorts, an invisible cord. We could be equals in the hunt. We could be predator and prey. Are we the same or are we different? It doesn't really matter, does it? Because he accepts my hug. I go into his orbit willingly. It is all I have ever wanted. Years from now, I will go back and try to piece together what horror my life has become. When the advocate became the predator. I will psychoanalyze my steps and it will always lead back to him. Or rather, the path diverges and splits into 1,000 branches, many heading back to him, but some ending squarely at the soles of my father's boots, or of other men, brutal, domineering, and kind-hearted in their best of moments. The common denominator amongst these paths is always me, always stumbling, always going the wrong way, too loud, too slow, a burden, not valuable or useful. No instinct, no street smarts, no sense of self-preservation, lost in the wood and easy dinner for any beast that happens upon me. I know not when I grew so helpless, but do recall when I forgot how to speak. When a stranger drew me into their chest, squeezed my shoulder or slapped my ass, wrapped a hold around my chest and fixed it so they could not let go. I never made enough noise. It was a squeak of discontent, a constant pull away, a silent shaking of my head. It is not loud enough for this forest. The beasts will always drown it out. Their chatter is incessant, whether I am there or not. I dream of what they are saying, supposing I understood their language. Is it paranoia or protection? Had I wanted it? How had they seen me at the party with my chest pressed into his, and had they known that I had promised myself to him? Am I the prize? Did I miss that part of the readings? They had all seen me hold tight enough to him to force his heartbeat into mine, either seeking affection or recognition, but finding a hollowed-out spot with no sound above a whisper. Whose was it? The quietest creatures live in the dark. The darkest creatures can live in the quiet. What recourse do we young girls have when we meet our idols with widened eyes and they gaze back with narrowed gaze and hungry sneer? Who to know is friend or foe when each of us is on our own, lofting our own self-importance above the needs of others? I am ashamed how I leaned into him, hoping to be saved, but was thrown from the edge of his favor so violently. Disposable as a paper towel, barely fit to clean up my own mess. There is no platonic anymore. We are no longer children. We are not friends. You cannot hug or smile or approach a strange boy without knowing what it can cost you. They always come to collect. And those who were hurt even as children understood the violation and the discontent. In fact, they knew it more. Were we ever real friends? Does anyone out there really care? Am I the only one to notice the monster beneath the stairs? Was I a premeditated victim or a consequence of that day? What was the trap you lured me into that I was too stupid to walk away? Still, I recognize that it's not down to only me. You had 100 victims and not all of them went free. This is not the end for you, and you could have 100 after, but you never counted on us fighting back, matching your screams with laughter. I don't know if I'm afraid anymore, but I know that I am hurt. You ain't special, you said to me that once. Your name is buried in the dirt. I was a baby, then a child, getting too much but never enough. I thought I would die underneath you. Then I started to grow up. As I looked at you through tears in my eyes, I thought you might have seen a person. I thought you recognized the same shape of your own flesh, or rather, I wanted you to. Nothing is safe in this world from predators, nothing to do but take flight. So find your tribe and look out for them like eagles overhead, never touching but for the wind on our backs. Enough of this predation on the cold, hard ground. I am taking to the air now. I am writing messages in the sky that come from nothing but learning to float and survive on the breeze above a churning storm cloud where you cannot yet see through to the earth below. And what we do see, we are disappointed in. Keep your damn hugs to yourself. So that was the poem. As I finish, I think that also had to do with a lot of victim blaming. Victim blaming is very prevalent in our culture when a woman, especially a black woman, a brown woman, an indigenous woman, comes out and talks about being assaulted or being harassed or abused. So many people can ask for proof. So many people will not believe them. So many people will, and that can change depending on who they've accused as well, and what time it is, how long ago it happened, what the accusations are. I think we victim blame way too readily in this culture, and I have to catch myself from doing it too. So this was from the perspective of that, as well as somebody who can, once you've been manipulated, you start to understand certain patterns of manipulation. Sometimes you understand them, not all the times. And I can be, like I said, manipulative myself. So it's something I always have to look out for and pay attention to. And that's what this poem's about. At the end, just taking flight, watching out for all survivors and victims, and making sure that it doesn't happen again. And if it does happen, knowing that it's not your fault. So yeah, this was anti-victim blaming. This was anti-rape culture. This was a lot. An appeal for decency, for men and women and everyone in between. And so I hope that meant something in some way. I always go back and edit my poems, so I'll be editing this one some more too. But for now, that was When the Advocate Becomes the Predator. So thank you for listening. I'm going to end off on a song in my next video to leave you with something happy if that was a bummer for you. So check out the links in my description, y'all. Peace. Bye.